So today is my 365th joke. A year ago I committed to doing a joke a day for a year, and we're finally to that point. The end is here, the end is nigh, which is kind of the subject of this joke. So I thought I'd tell a joke about the end of the world, not because the conclusion of my year obligation is the end of the world, but how the end of things can bring a new beginning. So I wanted to tell you this joke about the end of the world. There was this guy, and his name was Nathaniel Evans. And Nathaniel always was fascinated with death, even as a child, and he always seemed to have a sense about death. If a farm animal got sick or something, and looked like it might die, Nathaniel would be able to tell you that no, it's going to get better, and sure enough, it would. Or if he got real quiet around some people and was kind of afraid to talk to them, lots of times that person would die fairly soon afterwards. He just always seemed to sense the end. So anyway, Nathaniel grew up and went into the ministry, and he went out to Death Valley. Oddly enough, being fascinated with death, went out to Death Valley and would roam up and down the roads in the desert, talking to people that would stop as they drove through Death Valley to see if he needed any help. And Nathaniel would preach to them the gospel of repentance and redemption, salvation, that sort of thing, and would always claim that the end was near. The end is nigh. He kind of got a reputation. He did this for years. Would sleep on the side of the road, would just on top of a sleeping bag or with a blanket when it was cold during the winter nights. He got to become somewhat famous in the area. And one day he's walking up and down the highway, and he comes across this huge lever that's sticking out of the median in between the two highways, the two roads. And he goes up to it, and there's this big brass plate on the side of it that says, pulling this lever will facilitate the end of the world. And he's quite surprised by this, and he's kind of looking it over and kind of scratching his head and really kind of wondering what the heck this thing is or where it came from. And about that time, God comes down and speaks to him. He says, Nathaniel, you have been a faithful servant of mine, and you may not know it, but there is in fact this giant lever here that if pulled will end the world. And normally I watch it, but I've got some other things that I really need to attend to, and since you're such a trusted servant, I'm going to leave it here for you to guard. And Nathaniel's just awestruck, and God goes away, and Nathaniel's he's been doing this for years, but he's really reinvigorated, and he's out there and he's preaching to everybody as they drive by. And really spreading the gospel, and every night he sleeps there by the lever, and he gets to become quite famous, and people are coming from all over the world to see him because they've heard the story of how faithful he is and how devoted he is, and how supposedly God himself gave him this task to guard this lever. And so people drive by and they'll pull over on the shoulder of the road and talk to him, and sometimes there's just a line of cars just waiting to talk to him and hear his preaching. And this goes on for a while, and it gets to be somewhat of a problem because there's so many people coming there that it starts to cause some traffic issues. And one day there's this 18-wheeler that comes barreling down the road. It's got a religious guy by the name of Mike. He's a real holy roller. As a matter of fact, is on the side of his semi truck. It says the 18th, it says the 18-wheel disciple on the side of his semi there, and he comes flying down there. He's real anxious to see Nathaniel, and so he's kind of speeding a little bit, and he comes up over a little rise there in the desert, and there's all these cars there just stop, talking to Nathaniel. And he slams on the brakes, but there's no way he's going to stop in time without hitting something. And so he's going down the shoulder of the road. He gets into the grass and the median a little bit and starts to pull his truck towards the center. And he's headed right towards the lever. And he's wheeling it as hard as he can. And I mean, he's just trying to do anything to keep from crashing into something. And he hits Nathaniel, kills him dead. But he misses the lever. And at this point, God comes back down from the heavens, and he says, "What happened to my most faithful servant that I entrusted the end of the world to? Who did this?" And Big Mike, he climbs out of the cab of his truck, and he says, "I'm sorry, my Lord, I'm sorry, but I was out of control, and it was better Nate than lever."